Hey everyone, before I spill this tea that's been burning a hole in my conscience for years, hit that subscribe button and drop a comment below. Tell me if you've ever crossed a line you swore you never would. I'm 45 now, but this happened on my birthday 5 years ago, and I still wake up some nights wondering how one glass too many turned my whole world sideways. I'd just blown out the candles on a chocolate cake my daughter Emily insisted on ordering. Triple layer, extra fudge, the kind that makes you loosen your belt before the first bite. The restaurant was one of those dimly lit Italian places downtown. Red checkered tablecloths, Chianti bottles, dripping wax, Sinatra crooning from hidden speakers. My sister Lisa kept refilling my glass every time I looked away, laughing that 40 was the new 30 and I deserved to let loose. Emily and her husband Mark sat across from me, newlyweds glowing like they'd stepped out of a brochure. Mark, tall, quiet, the kind of study that makes you feel the room is safer just because he's in it, kept checking his watch, but he smiled every time I caught his eye. By 10 o'clock, the room tilted like a carnival ride. Lisa was demonstrating her karaoke skills on a breadstick, Emily was texting her boss about some deadline, and I was trying to remember how many stairs led up to my condo. Mark stood first. "I'll drive Mom home," he told Emily, voice calm like he was offering to take out the trash. Emily waved us off, already ordering another round for the table. The night air hit me like cold water. Mark held the passenger door of his SUV, one hand on my elbow so I wouldn't faceplant into the leather seat. Streetlights blurred into watercolor streaks as we pulled away from the curb. I remember the smell of his cologne, cedar and something citrus, mixing with the garlic bread on my breath. I laughed too loud to nothing, then apologized, then laughed again. He didn't say much, just kept both hands on the wheel, eyes on the road. Halfway home, I rolled the window down. Wind whipped my hair into my mouth. "You're a good kid, Mark," I slurred, patting his arm. Muscle shifted under the sleeve of his button-down. He glanced over, eyes soft in the dashboard glow. "You're not old enough to call me kid, Sarah." The way he said my name, slow, like he was tasting it, sent a shiver down my spine that had nothing to do with the breeze. My building loomed ahead, brick and ivy, the lobby light flickering like it does when the super forgets to change the bulb. Mark parked, killed the engine, silence rushed in. I fumbled with the seatbelt, the click sounded louder than a gunshot. He came around, opened my door, offered his hand. My heels wobbled on the pavement. Inside the elevator, I leaned against the wall, watching numbers climb, 3, 4, 5, my floor. The door slid open. I dug for keys that weren't in my purse. Mark took the purse, found them on the first try, guided me down the hall. The key scraped, the lock gave. Inside, moonlight striped the living room through half-open blinds. I kicked off my shoes, collapsed on the couch, head spinning like a top. Mark set my purse on the coffee table, hesitated. "Water?" he asked. I nodded. He disappeared into the kitchen. Pipes clinked. A glass appeared in front of me, condensation beating on the sides. I drank greedily, water dribbling down my chin. He sat on the arm of the couch, close enough that I felt the heat coming off him. "Better?" he asked. I wiped my mouth with the back of my hand, looked up. His face was inches away, eyes darker than I remembered. I don't know who moved first. Maybe me, maybe the wine. My hand found his knee, fingers curling into denim. His breath hitched. Then his mouth was on mine, soft at first, testing, then harder like he'd been holding back for years. My fingers tangled in his hair. The room spun faster, but this time it wasn't the alcohol. We stumbled down the hallway, bumping into walls, laughing into each other's mouths. My bedroom door banged open. Moonlight painted silver across the duvet. He lifted me, easy, like I weighed nothing, and laid me down. The mattress sighed beneath us. His shirt buttons gave way under my clumsy fingers. My dress slid up, then off, a puddle of black silk on the floor. Skin met skin, warm and urgent. Hands explored places they had no business exploring. Every touch felt like the first time and the last time all at once. Afterwards, we lay tangled in sheets that smelled like lavender and regret. His heartbeat thumped against my ear. I traced the line of his shoulder, memorizing the slope of muscle, the faint scar near his collarbone. He kissed my temple, whispered something I couldn't catch. Then the front door clicked, Emily's key in the lock, her voice calling out, "Mom? You home?" Mark froze. We scrambled, silent as thieves. He yanked on jeans, grabbed his shirt. I pulled the duvet to my chin. Footsteps in the hall. Emily's shadow under the door. Mark slipped out the window onto the fire escape, shoes in hand, like a teenager sneaking out after curfew. The latch clicked shut behind him. Emily poked her head in. "Mom, you okay?" I mumbled something about headaches and too much wine. She kissed my forehead, tucked me in like I was the child. When she left, I stared at the ceiling, tasting Mark on my lips, wondering how the hell I was going to face Sunday dinner. The morning after tasted like copper and shame. Sunlight stabbed through the blinds, striping the bed where Mark had been. I lay there counting heartbeats, waiting for the ceiling to crash down. My phone buzzed. Emily. "Hope the birthday girl isn't too hungover. Brunch?" I typed Rain Shack with thumbs that still trembled. I showered until the water ran cold, scrubbing my skin raw, but his scent clung to me like smoke. Cedar and citrus and something darker. When I stepped out, the mirror showed a woman I barely recognized, lips swollen, a faint bruise blooming on my collarbone. I covered it with concealer, 3 layers, then threw on a turtleneck in July. Mark texted at noon. "We need to talk." 3 words, no punctuation. I stared at them until the screen went black. My finger hovered over delete. Instead, I typed, "Not over text." He replied instantly. "Park, 6 p.m., the bench by the duck pond." The park was crowded with families and dogs, and the kind of normalcy that made my stomach churn. I wore sunglasses even though the sun was low. Mark was already there, elbows on knees, staring at the water like it held answers. He stood when he saw me, hands shoved in his pockets. "Sarah," he started. I cut him off. "Don't. Just don't." We walked the path in silence, gravel crunching under sneakers. Ducks quacked for bread crusts. Finally, he spoke. "Last night was a mistake." I finished. He flinched like I'd slapped him. "Was it?" I stopped under a willow tree, branches sweeping the ground like curtains. "You're married to my daughter." The words tasted like rust. He stepped closer, voice low. "I know, but I've wanted you since the first time Emily brought me home. You were wearing that red sweater, laughing at my stupid joke about tax law." I remembered the sweater. I remembered the joke. I remembered thinking he had kind eyes. "Wanting and doing are different," I said. He reached for my hand. I let him take it. His thumb traced my knuckles. "One more time," he whispered. "Then we stop. Clean break." I should have walked away. Instead, I nodded. We met 3 nights later, at a motel off the interstate, the kind with neon vacancy signs and ice machines that rattle like skeletons. Room 12 smelled of bleach and old carpet. He was waiting inside, shirt unbuttoned, eyes hungry. I locked the door behind me. This time there was no alcohol to blame, just need, raw and sharp. He backed me against the wall, mouth on mine before the deadbolt clicked. My blouse hit the floor, then his belt. The bed creaked under our weight. We moved like we were racing something. Guilt, maybe, or time. His hands mapped every inch of me, reverent and desperate. I arched into him, biting my lip to stay quiet. The headboard tapped the wall in a rhythm that echoed my pulse. After, we lay side by side, staring at the water stain on the ceiling. He said, "Emily suspects nothing." I traced the scar on his shoulder again. "She will." He rolled toward me, kissed my forehead. "Then we end it." But his eyes said otherwise. We met twice more. Once in my car behind an abandoned strip mall, windows fogged, radio playing classic rock to drown out our breathing. Once in his office after hours, desk lamp casting gold across legal briefs and my bare back. Each time I swore it was the last. Each time I lied. Emily started noticing things. My late nights, the way I'd jumped when my phone buzzed. "You're glowing, Mom. New skincare?" I laughed too loud. Mark grew quiet at family dinners, passing the potatoes like they were made of glass. The 4th time we met, I almost didn't go, but the motel key was already in my hand. Room 12 again, same bleach smell. He opened the door wearing nothing but sweatpants, hair damp from the shower. I stepped inside, and the world narrowed to his mouth, his hands, the way he said my name like a prayer. We were careful, always careful. Condoms in his glove box, my lipstick wiped from his collar before he went home. But careful isn't bulletproof. The end began with a toothbrush. Emily called me on a Tuesday, voice tight. "Mom, can you come over? I found something." My stomach dropped like a stone. I drove the 15 minutes to their house, white-knuckled, rehearsing lies. She met me at the door, eyes red. In her hand, a motel keycard, room 12. "Explain," she said. The word cracked like a whip. I took the card. Plastic, cheap, the motel logo faded. "It's not what you think," I started. Emily laughed, bitter. "It's exactly what I think. Mark's been working late. You've been book club. Same nights?" Mark appeared behind her, face pale. Let's talk." She whirled on him. "You don't get to talk." Then back to me. My own mother. The betrayal in her voice cut deeper than any knife. I don't remember much after that. Words tumbled out, apologies, excuses, tears. Emily told me to leave. Mark tried to follow. She slammed the door in his face. I drove home blinded by rain and regret. That night, I packed a bag. Not to leave forever, just to breathe. A hotel downtown, anonymous. Keycard access only. I sat on the edge of the bed, fully clothed, staring at my phone. Mark's texts poured in. I'm sorry, I love you, we can fix this. I turned it off. Morning brought clarity like a hangover. I called Lisa, told her everything. She listened without interrupting, then said, "You have to tell Emily the truth. All of it. Then you let her decide if she ever wants to see you again." I drove to their house at dawn. Emily opened the door in Mark's college sweatshirt, eyes swollen. I handed her a letter, 3 pages, front and back. Every detail I could bear to write. The birthday, the motel, the lies. I ended with, "I will spend the rest of my life making this right if you let me." She read it in the doorway. When she looked up, her face was stone. "Get out of my life." The door closed. The lock clicked. Mark moved out that week. I heard through Lisa. He rented a studio near his office, slept on an air mattress. Mark filed for divorce. I offered to pay for therapy, lawyers, anything. She sent the check back, torn in half. Months passed. I sold the condo. Too many memories in the hallway, the couch, the bedroom window. Bought a small house on the edge of town, white picket fence I never wanted. Planted roses that died because I forgot to water them. Mark called once. "I miss you." I hung up, blocked the number. Emily's birthday came. I mailed a card, no return address. Inside, a check for the down payment on the house she and Mark had been saving for. She sent it back with one word scrawled across it: blood money. I stopped drinking, joined a support group for people who'd wrecked their families, sat in folding chairs listening to strangers confess worse sins than mine, learned to say I'm an alcoholic, even though my poison had been desire, not wine. 1 year later, Emily showed up at my door. Rain soaked her hair, mascara streaking her cheeks. She held a box. My granddaughter's first birthday photos. She asked for Grandma, she said. Her voice broke. "I don't know how to do this." We sat on the porch. I didn't touch her. She cried. I cried. The roses had bloomed despite me, red as apologies. "We start over," she said finally. "But Mark's gone. Forever." I nodded. Some doors close and stay closed. The quiet years were the loudest. Emily and I rebuilt on eggshells. Sunday dinners became once a month, then twice, then every week. My granddaughter called me Mimi because Grandma stuck in her throat the first time. I learned to knit, lopsided scarves, hats with holes. Emily kept them anyway. Mark sent letters. I returned them unopened. Once, he waited outside the grocery store, leaner, eyes hollow. "Sarah." My name sounded foreign in his mouth now. I walked past. He didn't follow. I dated. A widower from church who quoted psalms and smelled like mothballs, a divorced dad from the PTA who made terrible lasagna. They were kind. They were safe. They weren't Mark. I stopped dating. Emily remarried. A quiet accountant named Tom, who called me ma'am and fixed my garbage disposal without being asked. They had another baby, a boy with Mark's eyes. I held him once, then handed him back. Some ghosts you don't exorcise, you just learn to live beside them. I turned 50 alone, blew out candles on a store-bought cake, wished for absolution I knew I didn't deserve. Lisa toasted with sparkling cider. "To surviving ourselves," she said. We clinked plastic cups. One spring morning, I found a letter in my mailbox. No return address. Inside, a single photograph. Me and Mark at my birthday dinner 5 years earlier. His arm around my shoulders, both of us laughing at something off camera. On the back, in his handwriting, I still see you in every sunset. I burned it in the sink, watched the edges curl black, ashes swirling down the drain. Emily saw the smoke from the driveway. Everything okay? I nodded. Just cleaning out old ghosts. She hugged me, quick, fierce. Good, she said. We have enough live ones. I started volunteering at the women's shelter, taught resume workshops, held hands during panic attacks, and learned that secrets rot louder when you keep them. Told my story in group. Anonymous, voice shaking. A teenager hugged me after. You gave me hope, she whispered. I cried all the way home. Mark died 2 years ago. Car accident on the interstate, same stretch where our motel squatted like a bad memory. Emily called me from the hospital. She said, he asked for you. I went, held his hand while machines beeped slower. He squeezed once, eyes locked on mine. Forgive me, he rasped. I leaned close. Already did. The funeral was small. I stood in the back, black veil, roses in my arms. Emily saw me, nodded. We didn't speak. Some graves you visit alone.
The final truth is this. I never stopped loving him. Not the way you love a husband or a father or a friend. Something quieter. A bruise that never quite heals. Tender when the weather changes. I kept one thing, his scarf. The gray cashmere one he wore the night he drove me home. Found it in my laundry basket months later. Emily must have missed it. I hid it in a shoebox under winter boots. Some nights I take it out, press it to my face. Cedar and citrus faded to memory, but enough remains to conjure his hands, his mouth, the way he said my name like a secret. I cry then. Not for what we did, but for what we lost. Emily and Tom moved to the suburbs. Grandkids grew, bike rides, school plays, graduations. I became the grandma who bakes snickerdoodles and tells stories about the old days, leaving out the parts that would break their hearts. Lisa died last year. Cancer. Quick and cruel. At her bedside, she grabbed my hand. Tell them the truth someday, she whispered, when they're old enough to understand forgiveness. I promised. Haven't yet. Maybe this is my confession. I'm 60 now. Hair silver, knees creaky. But the mirror shows the same woman who danced with Mark under restaurant lights. Some fires bank, but never die. Last week, I drove past the motel. Boarded up, weeds cracking the pavement. Room 12's door hung open. Hinges rusted. I parked, walked inside. The bed was gone, carpet stained, but the window still faced the highway.